We don't talk enough about timing in anime. Most stories begin with a spark, the perfect moment, the right age, the right hero. Teenagers suddenly burdened with the fate of unlocking ancient powers before they've even finished high school. But in the real world, the spark doesn't always come on time. You study for the wrong test, take the wrong job, watch others rise while you stall. Years pass, and then one day you wake up wondering if that window of opportunity was real to begin with, or if it quietly closed while you were still getting ready. Kafka Hibino exists in that space, where dreams don't align with the calendar, and second chances don't come with guarantees. He's not young, hungry, and full of potential. He's 32, working cleanup and full of doubt. He's already failed and watched someone else live the life he wanted. But here's what makes him powerful. He doesn't disappear. When the chance finally comes, Kafka doesn't run from his failures, he walks with them. And step by step, he becomes something we don't often see in anime. A hero who starts late and fights anyway. That's where Kafka begins, not on the front lines, but behind them. Not with a declaration of power, but with a quiet truth most of us don't say out loud. He missed his chance, and now he has to live with it. Kafka dreamed of joining the defense force, not for praise or validation, but to protect people, and to stand beside Mina Shiro, someone he deeply respected. But he failed the entrance exam again and again. Eventually, the dream stopped knocking. While others trained and rose through the ranks, Kafka took a different path, not by choice, but by necessity. He got a job at Monster Sweeper Inc., scrubbing kaiju guts from the pavement, while Mina soared in the skies above. It's hard enough to fail, harder still to watch someone succeed in your place. Kafka doesn't blame the world because that's what makes it worse. He carries the weight of knowing he didn't do enough, and now he might never get another shot. This is a common truth for many adults. You reach an age where the margin for error shrinks. You missed the first wave, you pivoted, you survived, but there's a gnawing sense that the world doesn't wait, and maybe you're no longer built for the race. Kafka really reminded me of Ippo from Hajime no Ippo. Not at the peak of his boxing career, but during the quiet years of hesitation, where coming back might hurt more than staying away. Both are haunted not by failure, but by the fear that trying again might prove they were never meant to succeed in the first place. Kafka's resolve to still show up even without hope is what makes this arc more impactful than most. But sometimes life doesn't care how prepared you are. Sometimes it just throws something at you. And when that moment finally came for Kafka, it didn't look like opportunity, it looked like disaster. Kafka's life changes not through effort, but through invasion. A kaiju forces its way into his body, unlocking strength he never earned. This isn't a reward, it's a complication. He doesn't suddenly feel destined, he feels alien, terrified of what he's become, unsure if this change is salvation or punishment. But with time, Kafka recognizes something underneath the panic. This is a door, a risky, painful door, but one he thought had been shielded away shut forever. For a lot of people, real change begins with disruption. A layoff, a breakup, an illness, something that shakes your identity until you're forced to reassess what matters. Kafka doesn't grab opportunity, he survives disaster and uses the debris to build something new. That journey echoes Shinichi from Parasite, a human slowly transformed both physically and emotionally by forces beyond his control. Shinichi learns to fight for humanity while carrying something that no longer makes him fully human. Kafka walks that same fragile line. That transformation gave him strength, but it also gave him something harder to carry: secrecy. And at this point, the real danger isn't what he fights, it's what happens if anyone finds out what he's become. Kafka's power isn't something he flaunts, it's something he carries, heavy, dangerous, and always close to unraveling. Every moment with his squad, every mission he joins, he's hiding a truth that could get him killed, not by the kaiju, but by the very people he's protecting. He moves through the world like someone with a hand over a ticking time bomb. One misstep, one accidental transformation, and everything he's built comes crashing down. No amount of bravery in the field can outweigh the fact that if the wrong person sees him change, it's over. And that tension builds with every episode. The more good he does, the closer he comes to being exposed. That internal tightrope walk mirrors the reality of people who mask vital parts of themselves just to exist safely. Whether it's mental health, queerness, illness, or personal history, the fear isn't that people will misunderstand you, it's that they'll understand exactly what you are and reject you anyway. Kafka really feels like a bunch of different anime characters into one, but he really reflects Ken Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul, someone who gains immense terrifying power and is forced to navigate the world with a new, monstrous identity. Like Kafka, Kaneki lives in fear of what he's become while still holding on to the hope that he can protect others. Both walk the edge between what they were and what they must become to survive. So what does he do with that fear, that tension? He works, quietly, relentlessly, not to escape what he is, but to prove, if only to himself, that he still belongs in the fight. Kafka doesn't coast on the strength he gained. He refuses to treat the transformation like a shortcut. Even after gaining kaiju power, he shows up for training every day like it's the only thing he has. He gets outpaced, outperformed, and underestimated, and still he keeps going. He doesn't train because he wants to prove he's better than the others. He trains to close the distance between who he was and who he still hopes to become. That memory of failing the entrance exam, of scrubbing kaiju guts while others took the spotlight, that's what fuels him. Kafka works with kind of a quiet intensity that doesn't ask for recognition. He's not chasing validation. He just wants to be useful in a way that means something this time. This is the experience of anyone who's ever had to start from behind. People who've changed careers late, went back to school after a decade, or re-entered a field they once walked away from. You work harder not to compete, but to feel worthy of the space you're trying to retain. You can see a similar spirit in Rock Lee from Naruto, a character who throws everything into effort because talent was never an option. Kafka moves with that same stubborn energy, not to prove he's special, but because giving up once already hurt too much. Kafka doesn't match the world's image of a hero. He's older, slower, easier to overlook, but that's why his story resonates. He doesn't represent perfection, he represents persistence. Kafka rises not to prove people wrong, but to show that it's still worth standing, even when you feel like the world has already moved on. For anyone who's ever had to rebuild themselves later in life, whether it's after failure, loss, or simply drifting too far off track, Kafka's story is a reminder that it's not too late, that forward motion still matters even if it starts with a limp. Kafka brings to mind Kamina from Gurren Lagann. They're nothing alike on the surface, but both carry something deeper: belief. Kamina believes in others before they believe in themselves. Kafka turns that same belief inward, pushing himself towards a purpose that no one else hands him. It's easy to cheer for the underdog in hindsight, after they've won, after the moment passes, but Kafka's journey isn't built for highlight reels. It's built from slow mornings, small wins, quiet decisions to keep going, even when no one is watching. That's what makes him powerful, not his kaiju form, but the choice to rise again, even when he knows how badly it hurt the last time. Kaiju number 8 isn't about fate, it's about Kafka Hibino, a man who didn't get a perfect beginning, but who fights anyways, who rises late, who gets messy, who risks everything just to become someone worth believing in. His story is worn, imperfect, and deeply human, because most of us don't get that perfect start. We get second chances, and if we're lucky, we take them. So if you've ever felt like time passed you by, if you've ever looked around and thought, I should be further than this, remember Kafka. Remember that sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is try again. And if that hit home, maybe you were never behind to begin with. Drop a comment below. Are you excited for season 2 of Kaiju number 8? And what anime character reminds you that it's okay to start late? And I'll catch you in the next one.